welcome to Pure Media Australia. Thank you, Buck Angel, for joining us.
Oh, right on. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to have a conversation because conversations make change.
Absolutely. We've also got Ryan Jackson-Saw joining us from the Raw Report and the Conspiracy Corner. Cheers, Ryan, for joining us.
Right on.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. And Buck Angel, welcome to the show. It's such an honor to have you on here. Been watching so many of your interviews and absolutely fascinating backstory, fascinating perspectives. And it's going to be very, very nice to hear your perspectives tonight. So, yeah, welcome.
Yeah. Now, for those who don't know who Buck Angel is, Buck is a female to male transsexual and a huge advocate for protecting children against this woke culture going on in today's society. So we'll start with Buck.
Yeah. Well, gosh, I don't even know where to go.
The heat is on.
So yeah, I would say my activism today is really geared towards educating the world, because my community tends not to want to do that. They just want you to accept us without giving anybody any information about why you should accept us. And also, more importantly, I'm very concerned as an elder in my community and as someone who transitioned 30 years ago, I am concerned with this push of medicating children and putting them into this space of trans kids. Now, that being said, I do think there are kids like me who had dysphoria or who are that, but I do not believe that kids at that age should be medicated. So I just want to kind of clarify where my stance is around that. I do believe there are children who could have definitely dysphoria feelings around their gender, but I do not believe medicating them is on a fast track is the healthy, most proper way to do that.
So there's obviously a lot of misdiagnosis going on. It seems like it's very easy to just go and get hormones or some sort of, anything from the doctor to say that you're transgender just because you might have different feelings to what you think are natural. What have you got to say about that?
Well, I mean, that's called what I call fast tracking. Okay. So now we have a thing called affirmative therapy. And I think we have very similar laws here in Australia. I think they're kind of pretty much on the same space there. But that being said, we have something called affirmative therapy, which when a child comes into the therapist and says, I'm trans, you're not allowed to disagree. You're not allowed to have any pushback. You have to affirm this child's saying, okay, what if the child came in and said, I'm an octopus? Like, you have to affirm that's not right. There's something going on in the brain. There's something going on in the brain when a kid says, I feel like a boy or I feel like a girl. I mean, we need to be honest about that. And that's why I'm always honest about my disorder called gender dysphoria that I got diagnosed. I went through years of therapy for it. You can't just take a kid's a word at something at face value. You can't. I don't even care if he is trans or she is trans. You must give this child some space to grow into what that actually means to them. And every child is different. We are not the same. Even in our community, every trans person is different. We might do it for different reasons. We might have different backgrounds, just like anything, right? We're not a monolith, if that says. So children are not either. So I think for me, it feels very much like we're discounting the mental health and we're going completely to the physical health, right? We're worried about the physical characteristics of this child. And I'm more worried about the brain development of this child. And I'm more worried about the health benefits or not of this child when you put them on medication.
A bit like chasing dreams, isn't it? And with all the misdiagnosis going on, I mean, it's catastrophic what the future is going to look like for some of these kids who are misdiagnosed. I mean, I've spoken with Walt High before, who mentioned about generalized dysphoria. That is such a thing, like it's an umbrella term, I believe he said, but gender dysphoria is one of those categories inside that big umbrella term. Is that correct?
Well, gosh, as an older person who transitioned because I actually have gender dysphoria and I could not live. And I remember I lived 30 years of my life in the female space. So I didn't just transition. I did struggle. did all these things that happen as a human being.
And you've been very forthcoming about that as well. And like accepting that you have to go through a bit of struggle with all of this. So sorry to cut you off there.
No, because here's the deal. Everybody struggles, people. How dare we take trans kids as this special little thing that says, oh, they can't struggle. What? No, that's not right. I have a kid. I'm an actual dad with a 10-year-old son. So not to say that makes me any better than anybody else, but I have actual daily experience with children. And I coach, I coach soccer. I'm around kids. The kids play at our house all day long. I'm actually around this age group. And none of his friends are trans or non-binary, by the way. I think there's one kid at school that might call himself non-binary. But that being said, he's not really around it. So I wondered also to myself, is there something going on with the kids at 11 and 12 who are saying they're trans, and where are they getting this language? Remember, I transitioned 30 years ago. We didn't have this language. I felt like a boy. That's what I said. I felt like a boy. So what? My parents dressed me like a boy. I played around, and that was in the 60s. And, they thought I would grow out of it, but clearly I didn't. But my point being is there was nuance. Right? There was, let the kid be, let me have a G.I. Joe and a truck. And my sister's got Barbie and, hair stuff. But it's a really difficult conversation, because people think what I'm saying is let the kids suffer, let the kids not have medicine, that they're not trans. That's not what I'm saying. It saved my life. Why wouldn't I want somebody else's life to save? Absolutely. What I'm saying is slow down. We are not in a hurry. Kids will figure it out at some point. And if they need the medicine, we got it. But why would we medicate a child straight out the gate? Why would we do that?
Exactly. Why are they in such a hurry? Why is there such a hurry?
Yeah, it actually boggles my mind, because as we all know, as adults, when you rush into anything, you're going to make a mistake. You're going to make a mistake. Yeah,
they've got that blackmail or guilt.
We have a bit.
Sorry, right?
That's all right. We have a bit of an issue here in Australia. We have a program called the Safe Schools program, and that's across all the schools in the country. Now, the Safe Schools program is basically educating the kids about LGBT, but it's almost done in a way that's promoting it. It's encouraging the lifestyle, and of course, that stimulates curiosity in children. Oh, there's some area to explore, and so once that happens, we have a law in Australia that if you challenge the children in any way, you will go to prison.
That's right.
They will lock you up. I don't know if the same in America or not, but that vital challenge is not there.
How dare they? First off, how dare they challenge a parent? I will keep going back to you. I'm a parent. It's my job as a parent. I signed up for it. Okay. To be a parent is my responsibility, my child. It's not your child. It's not the state's child. It's not the country's child. This is what's scaring me. Okay. How dare the country or the state step in over top of the parent? And now, unless a kid is being abused, but that's over here, right? We're talking specific.
That's right.
One thing that we're, as parents, not allowed to challenge our child's notion of being an octopus, because that's what I'm going to say. Trans and an octopus, the same thing as far as I'm concerned at that age, right? They're having thoughts of things. And how, as parents, are we not allowed to challenge that because we care about our kids enough? Look, I don't want a kid to be trans. That's the last thing I want a kid to be. That's a lifetime of medication. This sucks.
That's a hard lifestyle.
Oh my God, do you think I like this? I do not. And you know what? I would have chosen being born a man over anything that I have today. But when you get diagnosed with a disorder, you can either accept that disorder or you can just keep pushing against that disorder. I chose to accept my disorder and fix it with the physical space. I have to shoot testosterone for the rest of my life. I have to work out. I have to be this person constantly in my brain, if that makes sense. Why would you want to just throw that onto a child so the rest of their life they have to kind of deal with this disorder, when we can say, wait a minute, maybe the kid is just, blah, 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 and da, da, da. And then the kid grows. We're showing a huge amount of kids desisting and growing out of this if we just let them sort of be that.
See, there's that guilt of like, oh, your child will kill themselves, commit suicide if you don't let them transition at an earlier or as early as possible. And that's terrible.
How dare they? How dare they use our diagnosis like that? How dare they put words in people's mouth? That's not true. We do not have a high rate of suicide. We have a high rate of suicidal ideation, suicidal tendencies. Big difference. If there was 40% of trans people killing themselves, we would notice. We would actually notice. There would be a shit ton of dead people. But we have ideation. So do you, maybe. So do you, maybe, right? So do gay men. So do
we all have a bad day. You know, we all have sad periods of our lives. We get special challenges that we don't feel that we can overcome. We feel trapped. And of course, with the trans, it's you certainly can feel trapped in that, especially if you don't feel there's any way to actually do it or support.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. I mean, and it comes down to, I will continue to say this, mental health care. If we do not start the process with getting your child into some form of therapy, some form of space where they can actually verbalize what's going on without all of these yes men, right? When you put yes men around anything, you feel like you're doing the right thing. We're doing a disservice to children when we're giving them yes men without any no men, because yes men is just on some level putting you into a possibly false space. Then when that child desists or detransitions, whose fault is it? It's a question to you two. Whose fault is it when this child decides that at 17, they should have never taken puberty blockers and they hate it and their body's messed up from it? Whose fault is it? Is it the parents? Is it the community?
The parents.
Well, the parents don't have a choice. The parents don't have a choice anymore. That's the problem.
That's right.
Well, that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So how dare we now put parents into a position to say that they have to do it or they're going to get their kid taken away? Or what world do we live in? Seriously, you guys, this is actually like other world as far as never should children be taken away from parents unless they're being physically abused and mentally abused. That is not physical.
Cutting their body parts off, that's abuse. You know,
it's extreme. It's extreme.
It's extreme.
I mean, I believe that the LGBTI community has been co-opted by Marxists. To be perfectly honest, and they're using this movement. They make it their own in order to empower themselves. They're doing it for virtue signaling, societal changing, and so basically, like I grew up with the LGBTI community years ago, back in the early 90s and 80s, and there was some real danger, and the communities had to come together. I mean, Buck, how big of a difference is the communities now versus then?
I mean, gosh, you see my face. just look at the flag. The flag alone says everything.
What planet are we on?
The flag looks like basically what's in your background. It's literally every color,
it's everywhere. Yeah.
Order. Now
I saw Ukraine on the flag recently. It's that changeable. They'll just put Ukraine on there just because.
Well, then instead of it being an LGBT flag, it should just be a human rights flag, because that's really what they're trying to say, which is I agree with. Every person on the planet has human rights, and every group of people, all of it. I do believe that. But that flag no longer, in my opinion, and where I'm at in my heart, represents LGBTQ. It does not. It represents a whole other space that has nothing to do with me. And it's why I continually talk about being a transsexual and not transgender.
I was going to ask you about that. What's the difference?
There's a big difference, and why I also get pushed back by some of the community, because I'm creating a new space, and a bunch of people are starting to identify as transsexual as opposed to transgender. So transsexual is a medical space. It is a person who goes through a system, who has gender dysphoria, which is an actual mental disorder, who accepts that mental disorder, gets notes and letters from doctors, because you need to keep it safe. I call it safekeeping. They like to call it gatekeeping, but it's actual safekeeping. So you go through these, levels just to make sure. I mean, my God, you're making a life-changing choice that you can never go back from. And so then what you do is you do these things, and you start to get medical assistance. I got my chest removed. I got, testosterone. That's why I look so masculinized. And then you move through the world as a man or a woman. You do not move through the world.
And you get on with it.
And you get on with it, and you become a badass. And that's what I did on some level. I just became a man. I'm not a biological man. And I'm very honest about that. And it's I have to be. I'm very honest about who I am, because it's the reason I am who I am. And so, long story short, that's a transsexual. It's a medicalized diagnosis of somebody who lives in the binary. So I used to call it a sex change, right? You're going from a man to a woman, or a woman to a man. Boom, done. You get
is what it is.
That's right. Then you have the transgender space, which is now an umbrella term that encompasses anything and everything, like 5,000 new genders, people who don't trans.
I want to ask about that. Why don't people take hormones and surgery to transition into wolfkin? or demon gender, or whatever people were making up now.
Yeah, demon gender, and so because I do not in any way align with that, and I don't care. Again, if it's adults, you can do whatever you want, my friend. Be whatever you want. I have no concern about an adult. But when you start to sort of push this kind of, and I do think of it as an ideology on some level, that that you can identify as a cat. Why are we encouraging that? That's very bizarre to me. And why would that? How does that reflect me? Do you understand what I'm saying?
It's tarring you with the same brush. You and your community is what I can see. And you guys, you and yourself and you and Blair White, you're very reasonable people, and we can have a human conversation. But a lot, you'd be scared to even open up or talk to anybody these days. I mean, at the risk of offending somebody, what?
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because, again, I'm an elder. I've done a lot of work for this community, and nor do I need to be, commended for it. It doesn't matter to me. The fact that I have to bring that up upsets me. I didn't do the work for this community so that everyone thinks I'm like this amazing person. That's not why I did it. I did it for the next generations. But now I'm getting all this hate from a generation of kids that don't even understand where they come from.
Because you're going against the narrative.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. And that's really sad to me. Yeah, the narrative. It's a narrative. How did I become a narrative? I'm not a narrative. I'm an actual disorder who needed to get my shit together and move on in the world. And I'm a happy person. I have a family. I mean, I just cannot tell you how happy I am because I'm so happy. But I'm not happy with what I see.
It must be devastating for you to see what's going on. Yeah,
it's devastating.
So many lives potentially being completely destroyed, and the youth. And it's just getting worse. It's not slowing down at all. It's just speeding up.
That's right. That's right. And so I kind of feel an obligation, if that makes sense. I feel an obligation, even if it's just one kid who sees me and says, wow, you know what? I'm not trans. I'm just a butch woman who wants to, be this way. And you can be a butch woman and not have to transition. You can live in the male space. I did that for many years. I was very masculine as a female, and, everyone would call me he and all of that, but it was never that I need to have my boobs cut off or, this at 16, at 16 to cut your breasts off is a huge choice. Huge. I mean, I can't believe that we're not putting the emphasis on huge choice. Like what?
Well, it's all glamorized, isn't it? Like all the TikToks and YouTube stars, there's nothing behind the scenes that's really spoken about, with the exception of yourself and Blair and the others who do. It's all absolutely glamorized. So it's easy to be tricked or coerced being a young person. Yeah.
It wasn't really glamorized when you did it, Buck. I mean, that would have been that would have been really shocking for the people around you, the communities, everything. That was unheard of back then.
Oh gosh, I was one of the first people to do. I was here in LA. I was actually the first person to do it with the doctors I did it with, and so on some level, I was an experiment. I mean, we still are. I mean, that's the weird thing about it. 30 years later, we're still experiments. So how is that possible? And why would we ever experiment on children? I had this person push back on me and said, "Well, Buck, we need to experiment. How are we going to move forward?" I said, "Really? Whose kids are we experimenting on? Because you're not going to experiment on my fucking kid. So you're going to use your kid. So how dare you say that? So whose kid gets sacrificed for the experiment? Because they're admitting it. It's an actual experiment. And so, wow, if you
sacrifice is a good word for that too.
It's so disgusting. Terrible. And I thought, just do a little research on Lupron. I mean, I just Google it. You will see so much crap that's done to women who use it for, for female problems like endometriosis and blah, blah. These women have been ruined. And this is the same drug that they're giving to young people. What? I hate it.
Got nothing.
I know.
What world are we in, Buck? I just don't know anymore.
I don't know.
I mean, one day it's like, it's cool and, let live and let's get on with it. And now it's just Alice in Wonderland.
That's right.
I don't get it.
I don't get it. And it's my community. Can you imagine?
I think
Not your
what
community.
what we're missing is true punk rock. I mean, I think that's what I think. This is a lot of kids are kind of treating this as almost, it's like a rebellion or a punk rock, and it's almost fashionable in a way. But if we bring back true rebellion, maybe we don't need to. Like all the kids who make the mistake and try to rebel, you know, they got a different avenue. Like,
that's right.
Yeah.
No, you're totally right. That's what I did. I was an actual punk rocker in the 70s.
Oh,
right?
well, there you go. Yeah.
I was. And I pushed against, and I had a mohawk, and I was androgynous, and, you know, all of the things that these kids are doing. But what the next level is here, besides what I was doing, right, is surgery and hormones. So we're adding something into this equation of rebellion that can really actually physically hurt these kids. And so I'm going to blame pharmaceutical companies. I'm going to blame doctors. I'm going to blame surgeons. These are the adults in the room, people. It's not the kid's fault. It's also not on some level the parents' fault. It is the goddamn people who are running this system's fault. The lying trans doctors, the lying trans activists, the lying surgeons. How dare you take the nipples off a 15-year-old girl who says she wants to be nullified and not be any kind of like human? Wait a minute here. That is, you can't get a tattoo, friends. Did you know?
And we're seeing the result of this as well from detransitioners who are coming out in the open and saying it was a huge mistake. I mean, if without that, maybe we might reassess. But the fact that there are detransitioners, well, what else do you make of that?
Well, guess what happens in our community?
For some people, and it's a huge decision.
But that's being said, let's use the detrans. I'm friends with a lot of detransitioners because I feel sad. My heart hurts for them. This did what they wanted, what I have, and they didn't have it because they are not me. So on some level, they were lumped into this space of your life will be amazing. Then they realize wait a minute, I already cut my breasts off, and I'm growing a mustache, and I have a deep voice like this, and I want to go back to living as a lady. And I'm just like, oh my God, I couldn't even imagine it. So we as in the trans community put those detransitioners over here. We don't want to talk to them, right? So I always use this sort of example. Cults. In a cult, if you leave a cult, what happens to the person who leaves the cult? You're
cut off from everyone and everything.
There you go. So what's happening with detrans? They're cut off. They lie about this. That they lie about the size of the detrans. There is a group of 35,000 people in a group called detransition. Now, maybe they're not all detransition, but the fact that there's a group of people with 35,000, come on, man, that says everything to me. And
I'm a member of that group actually, and like of all the people that they need just as much, if not more, support than a lot of these kids that are confused as well. They are lacking support massively. They need like proper groups therapies to actually help them heal from where they're coming from.
Thank you.
Because that's traumatic.
Thank you for saying that. I really means a lot to me that you said that, because these people are messed up. They will be messed up for a long time. I'm going to go back to the question, whose fault is that? Who did that to these kids? And why are these kids in there? And I call them kids as a 60-year-old, and these are 20. That's the kid. You're in 20 years old. You are a child. 25. You're still a child to me.
I thought I was pretty smart at 20, but I was actually really, really stupid. I didn't realize it.
We all are. I'm stupid at 60.
We don't really know until we look back. I mean, that's how it is, isn't it? So that's why we have these rules. Like they should go 18 or 21. Like, you know what? That's when you can make that decision. But when you're a child, you're developing. You don't really know. You're exploring. You have hormones fluctuating everywhere. You're kind of confused. How can you make that decision? It's a lifelong decision. Yeah. You can't. And I don't care what anybody says to me. You can't. Okay. You can't. I mean, I would have done it in a heartbeat. When I was 16, if we had the opportunity. And I talked to my parents about it, and my parents are like, what is happening? Even my parents who are 83 and accept me 100% are completely blown away with what is happening. And they said, we would have never given you puberty blockers. We thought you would grow out of it. We just let you be Buck. They let me dress like Buck. I was a little dude.
So you never would have felt like your parent, like any resent towards your parents if they had the choice? to do that and chose not to? You wouldn't have felt resentful to them or threatened to kill yourself or...
I wouldn't have that language. These kids have that language now, right? If you go, there's actual boards that I have gone to because I do my research with these kids. They're on there telling each other, this is what you say to your parents to get testosterone. This is what you say to your parents. You say, I'm going to kill myself. They're literally telling the other kids to say this. You tell your parents, I'm going to kill myself if I don't get top surgery. Or, you know, and what do you think a parent's going to do when their child starts? I did that. I told them, I tried to commit suicide. And, you know, my parents got me into therapy and all, you know, I was hospitalized, all kinds of stuff. And I'm not saying, so here's what I want people out there to hear. Yes, I went through all of that turmoil. I went through suicidal attempts, alcoholism, drug addiction, all of it. It's horrible. Now, maybe at 20 something years old, it might have been easier for me to have this space. But at the age of my existence of this, there were nobody to talk to me about being trans. So the doctors only spoke to me about being either a gay woman or that I just, you know, have some stuff going on. But they didn't have the tools like they have today.
Did you feel fully supported by your parents and those close to you though? Like, did you feel like you had the full support just being who you were at the time?
You know, that's a great question. I think when I was a youngster, yeah, because again, I was just Buck, dressed like boy all the time, like blah, blah, blah. It wasn't until I got to be going into high school, which I think was around 15 in the United States. So I think around 15 is when I went through late puberty. So I started growing breasts and feeling uncomfortable in my body, getting teased a lot because I looked like a boy instead of a girl. But I'll be honest with you that my parents did the best they could do in the 70s. This is in the 70s, right? So they didn't even really know how to, other than to just let me be that sort of masculine girl. And, you know, I was a big athlete. I was your typical butch girl, right? I'm a athlete. I play with the boys. Girls are gross. You know what I mean?
You embrace that though. And I love that about you. You embrace the truth about who you are. In fact, you're not in denial about the reality. That's what I think really stands out. And what needs to be more put out there, more praised is just being in touch with reality, not losing a grip, you know.
That's right. That's right.
I can't keep up.
Well, it's not fair for all of you either. It's actually not fair for the rest of the world that on some level we're not being honest. And it's why I step up to the plate. And a lot of the community, well, I wouldn't say a lot. I'm going to be honest with you. It seems like a lot, but those are just the trolls. I have a lot of support from my community that really is in this trans space like me. And so what we choose to do is be honest with you, because look,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's exactly my point.
It makes the conversation so much easier and easier to understand, because like coming from somebody who hasn't been in the situation before, I find it fascinating and very interesting. And I also love to learn about different people's lifestyles and all of this. So having conversations with people like yourself makes it so much easier and less intimidating. Like I'm not going to trip over and offend or anything like that.
But that's the point. I don't understand how we got to this space of offending. The people where I come from, we were never offended. What we did is we understood that you don't understand us. And so on some level, it's my job to educate you. And I hear this bullshit in the community now. It's not my job to educate cisgender people. I go, really? Who's going to do it then? Is it going to be me? And all of a sudden you don't like the way I'm educating. So fuck off, because you know what? If you don't educate, these people hate us. They hate us because they don't understand us. And that's with anything. People hate gay people because they don't understand them.
Well, being called a bigot or ignorant or, you know, hated because you don't understand, that's not exactly going to help the conversation, is it?
Not at all. As you see, that's why we're in this position we're in right now. We're in this position we're in because we're sort of here because nobody wants to just be honest about why wouldn't I be honest about my experience as a transsexual person? It's the reason I'm a transsexual. I'm not a man like a man, a biological man like you. I'm not, and I never will be. And so why would I be dishonest about that? I can't be dishonest because my experience is not the same as yours. And I actually don't deny my experience. And I think my experience is amazing and awesome that I made it here.
So you think maybe embracing this whole term of embracing your authentic self, do you think they've gotten that wrong? Like if you're embracing your authentic self, you're embracing your authentic self. You know what I mean?
I totally do. And I'm laughing because it's just hypocrisy to no end. It's literally circular reasoning, right? They make shit up every day. Something's new, like it's just how could they ever expect people to be okay with it when they're not making any sense? I don't even understand what they're saying. And I'm like, what? How is
that's
that
why
trans?
I love you, because it's like, okay, we can at least, connect on that, and there's hope,
There's hope.
With you speaking out. Yeah.
There's hope. There is hope because you care. I wouldn't be here if you two didn't care. So there is most definitely hope. What the world wants is reality. And what the world wants is for us to be honest about who and what we are.
And
what
to
the world wants.
coexist.
That's right. That's my message right there. And also, we cannot be doing this with children. I don't care what anybody says. We cannot be doing this with children. Nope. When you start doing weird shit with kids, that's when remember back in the day in the LGBT community, we freaked out when kids were around us. We put them because we got called pedophiles. We got called groomers, which is exactly what's happening again today. So why are we bringing kids into our space? Doesn't make any sense to many of us, and we're not okay with it.
Again, I appreciate that you say that. And I also saw somebody, Kitty Demure, she's a drag queen.
Yes.
But is totally against doing this in front of children, performing in front of children, and just does not understand the whole why that's even becoming a thing. So, and I have the utmost respect.
Well, that recent incident that happened where they took all those kids into a gay club, and they're basically putting on like a saucy freaking production for them. They had children as young as 3 years old putting money into their panties with it won't lick itself up on the wall. Like, what the hell is that all about? I mean, this is not good for the kids' development in any way.
No. It's not. And I don't care what anybody says. That is still a sexual environment. I mean, I get into arguments about this too. There's drag queen friends of mine that think I'm being ridiculous by saying, I'm like, are you kidding me? Drag has always been for adults, always, and
Absolutely.
It is a very sexual space.
It's like burlesque. It's like very.
They use the excuse of trying to educate children to be open-minded and loving and compassionate and love everybody. Love is love. I mean,
love is love.
Using every possible cliche to guilt into allowing and making exceptions for these sorts of things when it's simply inappropriate. At the very least. Yes.
At the very least.
At the very least.
Again. We came back around. I'm telling you, why do we have children? Why are we talking about children? That's actually disgusting. So there's an organization called Gays Against Groomers. I don't know if you've seen them, but they're pretty amazing and they're growing quickly. And it's all pretty much gay people who are against this children in our community being used as pawns, political, trans kids are kids. Wait a minute. How do you even know they're trans kids? Because they say they're trans. So next thing you know, why don't we say octopus kids are kids? Because next thing you know, like all the kids are going to be calling themselves octopuses. That's how stupid it is. And that's actually how damaging it is, because we've worked so hard to get away from labels. These people are putting so many labels, these neo pronouns. Everyone has, because everyone has to up everyone else, right? Like my new pronouns are and I'm like, what? Where did that come from? And it's like, oh, that's and I'm like, what? Like, so how is that trans?
That's something else. I don't know. But what do you think of because shows like I Am Jazz, that has not helped the core or the whole this side of the argument at all. I mean, what do you think really goes on behind closed doors with these sorts of glamorized stories?
That's
so sorry to say, but fake. Sorry, not
it's a reality show. No, it's a reality show. They write stuff in reality. That's not always what you see is what you get. That's not true. So that being said, I'm friends with Jazz, and I've been friends with her for many, many, many years. I remember when she first started transitioning, but I do believe she's actually a real trans kid, if that makes sense. And I do believe that it helped her a lot in her thing. And now that being said, I think that back in the day, I thought it was kind of cool that she was exposing, her transition and going through it on some level, because some people might have needed to see that. But that was how I thought differently back then. I did not know what we were going to have today.
It has of opened up the doors though.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it's
It has.
the influence it's had.
That's why I don't agree with it anymore. But the great thing about it is that I use it now as a means and a way to show why kids should not be transitioning. So that girl is now really, it's so sad. Oh my God, she's a sweetheart, but she's messed up mentally. You can see it. And, you know, there's just a lot of health problems I see coming from her. She gained a huge amount of weight. And I'm not fat shaming anybody out there. I'm just saying, like, that's just not healthy. You can see it. And also, you know, when you transition from a male to a female and you want to get the what we call bottom surgery, which is having a vagina put on you, they use the penis. You know, they use the penis to create the vagina. So that being said, when you get blockers, which Jazz did at an early age, it stunted all her growth, which included her penis. So she couldn't get the regular vaginal surgery. They had to take her colon and use it to create her vaginal space. What?
Like, that creates all sorts of problems too.
There you go. That's right. Now, what problems is she going to have from that? Which she might be a lot of
big
problems. Big ones. Big ones. So
that's a good example of why to wait longer, because there is complications that can come from, as you said earlier, rushing into it. Why the rush? Why the
rush? That's the weird thing. Like, we really need to understand why there's a rush. And I'm sort of the, you know, people like conspiracy person, but I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's an actual real thing. And I believe pharmaceutical companies, money, doctors, they're all pushing this because I see it in a way that I've read things where it says, you know, this industry of trans medicine and trans surgery is fast becoming $1 billion. Yeah, it's $1 billion industry.
Well, industry, that's the key word, isn't it? Industry. I mean, yeah, I mean, that America's pharmaceutical industry has a lot to answer for. They're just trying to push out their pills, their drugs. How many people are dying of opioid crisis? And now they're getting kids on these pills, and they're lifelong customers now. Like, that's a lot of money per person that they get in there. That's right. And then, you know, fentanyl is a big thing happening in the States now. And who's making that shit? And where did that shit come from? Yet no one's talking about that. We're just talking about trans kids are kids. What? You're giving trans kids medicine. Like, I don't care if your kid is trans. Right on. Dress him like a boy. Let him do his thing, whatever. But when you start giving medication to a child, you're asking for trouble. I don't care if you don't,
damage.
I don't care if you don't see it in the first 10 years. What about the 10 years after? Right? When the bone density starts to happen and the brain development and the brain bleeding, they just released the FDA just released that Lupron causes brain swelling and some other bullshit. And the FDA said it, and they're still pushing it. Now, Dr. Rachel Levine, our Minister of Health or whatever she is called, she pushes that stuff all the time. She should be arrested because that is not okay. That's our government. She's in the government pushing that stuff. So
no one is accountable, though.
There's no line between government and pharmaceutical now, right? So the government is now pushing pharmaceutical drugs. Wow.
It's crazy. Yeah, and no one is held accountable for if it is a mistake in the end. If people do detransition or realize this was a mistake or it wasn't for them, it was just a fad. For the damage that's been done, there is no one held accountable. And what are you left with? Just somebody who's broken.
You wait. We see that now, but you wait. You don't think there's lawyers standing, what do they call it? Standing, waiting, standing at the edge of the space here. Oh yeah. Oh, there's going to be massive lawsuits.
That's an industry as well.
That's right. But they created that. So they created that industry, right? So now they're going to create another industry, which is lawsuits. So it's exactly right, you guys. It's so disgusting. None of this should ever be a part of my life.
Playing ping pong with people's lives.
I mean, this is my life. What is happening? How did my life become a political football? And how did my life become politicized?
I'm so proud of you for speaking out against whatever it is that's going on, whatever it is. I don't know what to call it.
I can't shut up. So proud of you. I care. Thank you, because I care, and I care about what you think about me. I do on some level. I care that you want me to have this medicine. I care that you see it's life-saving. I care that you know that there's little Bucks back there or little Susies or whatever back there saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm just a girl who wants to be a guy and move on with my life.
And get on with it. Yeah.
Get on with it.
Not make a statement. So I've seen so many of your videos, and you just have this humble sort of natural aura about you that just wants to get on with life, but you're making a stand because you can see what's going on, and it's kind of scary where it's heading. I don't know
how
much
more scared than you are. Be more scared than you guys are. And who's ever listening here in this, first off, I value the fact that you gave me the space. Thank you so much, you two. It means a lot
thank
to
you.
me. But who's ever listening to this, please be more scared than you are right now. Because if you give a shit, excuse my language, about the children, okay? If you really care about the children, this is something that will be devastating, not only for the trans community, but for children. We are creating children with lifelong health problems that will not be okay. And all of us, I don't care if all of us are part of this, and we need to stop it before it gets to be such an epidemic of children on hormone. And I'm talking about 16-year-olds too. I'm not just talking about 8-year-olds. I'm talking about 16, 17-year-olds who haven't gone through enough. You know, now you can just say you're trans. You can literally say you're trans. Remember what I said before? I had to go to a therapist, and the therapist had to write a letter and had a long-term kind of space. It's why I'm totally solid. And I never even thought about going back the other way. Yet they're just giving these kids with a 5-minute intake or a 30-minute intake at Planned Parenthood. And next thing you know, you got your hormones and you're going home with no follow-up, no nothing. In what work? Because this is the thing, in what other medical space? Let's say you have diabetes and you go to the doctor gives you insulin. The doctor usually has checkups with you, right? Or the doctor explains what diabetes is and what you can and cannot eat. They don't even do that with these kids. They just say, sign this consent form. These are the things that can happen to you. Do you think a 16-year-old who's biting at the bit to get that testosterone even reads that? They're like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It says you can get this, but they sign it. They don't even understand what they're signing.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's depressing.
I'm lost for words.
I know. It's all silent.
It's insane and devastating because as a mother myself, like I do have that space in my heart for children, like we all do. But
yes.
Gosh, it's just devastating where this is heading. So what do you think we need to do? Just talk about this more, make more open conversations and demonstrate, because I mean, I love Ben Shapiro and Blair White in how they demonstrate how a good, healthy debate can happen. And
that's right.
I think that needs to happen more often.
I go on a ton of conservative. I'm not a conservative, but I have no issues with that. That being said, I go on a lot of conservative shows here in the United States because I build bridges. So, they don't necessarily like me or understand. Yeah, it's all about bridges. And so then I really have created many bridges with the conservative people who don't necessarily agree. And then they say, oh, I get it now. I'm like, yeah, because I sat and talked with you and you're not scared of me anymore. And you don't think I'm going to attack you.
Not at all. You don't feel like we're going to attack you either.
That's right.
Works both ways. It takes two to have a decent conversation, or three. So it's I think it works both ways, and creating more conversations surrounding this, it needs to happen so we can show how we can not just coexist but live friendly and all for the same goal. It's humanity, as mentioned before.
That's right. Nobody wants kids to suffer. But
and kids are becoming sterile over this, losing their ability to reproduce.
Oh my God.
That's the key. That's exactly what they want. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying, like, everything that the far left seems to do always involves no more children. If you'll see that it's a common theme.
Wow, that is just so sick. It's sick. And I just can't wrap my head around this idea that you can transition or stop puberty, which, as we all know, every human being goes through puberty. It's an important part of actually becoming from a child to an adult. There are very important things in that space right there of puberty. That's brain
psychological development.
All of it, a physical, development of your body, of your brain, pituitary gland, blah, 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 blah. That the fact that people would just be blind to that and think that when they're telling you, oh, don't worry about it. If they decide they don't want to go on it anymore, you can just stop it and it will pop back. Really? Just go take a basic biology class. That is actually not true. The minute you stop that puberty for, let's just even say 6 months, you never get that 6 months back, ever.
Because it's a natural occurrence.
That's right.
It's been interrupted.
So that should be disturbing to all of us, that the medical association, the association of, what is it? The American Association of Pediatrics is on board with it. So I'm like, okay, I don't trust any medical space anymore. They're being bought. They're being totally bought. There's some weird stuff going on. There's no way that American Pediatric Society would actually be okay with puberty blockers if they really understood puberty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shocking.
I wonder if you take these kids, right, who are confused, they have the gender dysphoria, they want to explore their male and their female sides and that sort of stuff. Why not set up a camp where you take these kids out and basically let them experience hallucinogens and do some
great
deep soul searching? Yep. I mean, I know that sounds pretty wild, but
because they're kids. but I'm all about it.
Look at the contrast. So, like with the hormones and the surgery and everything. No, that's actually a really fast way to know yourself. And
that's right. That's right. No, and they're doing actually, I work in the cannabis space here in the United States, and I'm also into, psilocybin and all of those kinds of things. I think that they helped me. I actually microdose psilocybin daily, and it actually changed my life. It really got me out of anxiety, depression, all of it.
It's amazing like that.
It's amazing, and it's natural. So I know they're doing, but again, here we go. So look, that's a great point what you're making, because what if we decided that kids could be using psilocybin? People would freak, but they're not freaking on puberty blockers.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's crazy,
man. And it is, as you said, it's experimental, and that's sad. Like, especially to some of the young ones who will eventually wake up and realize they were experimented on. I
already have one. I have an interview with a kid. It's going to be so great. I can't wait for you to see it. I got his parents' permission, because I would never do it. He's 17, but I still would never do anything with it unless I got the parents' permission. But that being said, he actually wrote something, and I found it. He was 14 years old when they put him on puberty blockers. By 17, they put him on testosterone. He said he has so many health problems. He can't barely stand. He can't walk. His bones are like brittle. He's sick all the time. I'm like, dude, I need to have you on. Like, oh my God, he's an actual example that we need to start showing that these people who are pushing these blockers are lying. Because I have it from the actual mouth of a child who was put on these blockers, who said it was the worst thing. And he also said they never told him this. They never ever told him these side effects.
That's exactly it. Like, I've been talking to a professor about this, and he's exposing this whole thing as well, saying they are not educating people about dangers of hormone blockers whatsoever, all these medications, and you get like a permanent IQ reduction. Like that's one of the problems. The bones, everything.
The damage is irreparable.
But they're not warning them. They're not telling them the problem. Like,
and it's not informed consent.
No, that's not informed consent, and that's what this kid is. This kid is gold. He is going to actually change so many things, because I am respected on some level, right? In the world, people don't think I'm just doing this to sort of make fun of people or whatever, like everyone else does on YouTube. Oh no, I'm using my channel to bring truth, reality.
You get real.
I'm real. Like, I'm going to bring you a kid who was on it. So don't tell me just because the whatever the American Pediatric Society tells you it's safe, that it's safe. They were doing that with Oxycontin. They were telling you it's safe. So are you people a bunch of fucking idiots?
And thalidomide, let's not forget about that time.
That's right. Like, it's as if the medical and pharmaceutical are God, and everyone just believes them. And we have so much research, and we have so much damage done by them, and everyone just acts as if it's just normal that we do that. So, here's where we're at now, friends. We got to start bringing facts to the world, because the rest of the world doesn't necessarily understand what's going on, right? Because I know that, because I speak to the rest of the world. I don't speak to the trans community, and they're like, what? I'm like, dude, you can't even imagine what they're doing to kids. What? They're doing that? Like, people don't even understand at the level me and you understand. That's why this show is important, that you're doing this and that you're bringing these types of guests on.
Awareness is everything.
Everything, my friend. And that's it, bringing truth.
Especially when they're not giving informed consent as well. Like, that's irreparable damage done to an otherwise healthy child who could have their whole life ahead of them.
Unbelievable.
And
why would you give medicine to a healthy child?
They're trying to help kids. They're trying to show them love and support and nurture. And they're trying to protect them from the the harshness of the world, and that they think that they're doing the right thing. They don't understand
Yes.
that they're actually causing a tremendous amount of suffering in this
That's right.
process. And it's
That's
just a matter of like that understanding. That's all they need. They just need to
Don't
understand.
forget, there is also an issue of Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
Yeah.
Have I said that right?
Yep,
But
you did.
there is a
You
lot
did.
of cases. Yeah.
Yep, you did. That's right.
And
I'm in total alignment with that. Yes.
that's terrible. I mean, that what you've said before about your parents, and they just let you be when you were growing up, and you're grateful that they did. And what's wrong with that? Why is there such a push, especially like from parents who, yeah, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them are actually pushing this.
They are pushing it. You can see it. There's a lady who says her 4-year-old kid is trans, calling her kid yes. I'm like, F you, lady. 4. I'm like, oh God, this is so out of hand now. That's Munchausen right there. That is literally Munchausen. That
attention.
So I posted this tweet, and I basically said, I can't remember exactly how I put it, but I'll just sort of, it said, if you were a woman who grew up as a masculine kid, like a tomboy, and today, do you live your life as a woman, and do you have a great life as a woman? Because if not, I think you might have been fast-tracked to be a trans kid. Oh, it went viral. I got like 30,000 likes and like 4,000 women all saying, yes, you are right, Buck. I would have been pushed into the trans space. I was a very masculine girl. I did all the boy things. I was, I don't know, tomboy, right? And
I was a tomboy when I was a kid.
I love tomboys. Bring back the tomboys.
Bring back tomboys.
Yeah, tomboys are cool. I was on an all-boys baseball team, even though I wasn't a girl. I just wanted to, and my parents let me, and I'm so glad that they let me without pushing any sort of ideology or freaking out about it. Like, I was the tomboy, my sister was the girly girl, and we're only a year apart. So yeah, obviously I know
it says everything like that. That's the thing is, I'm really going to tell you what I really believe the problem is today and how we can really change it. Gender stereotypes. Women can wear pants, and little girls can play baseball, and little girls can do all the things boys do, and boys can do the things boys can be cooks and clean house and have babies and and whatever the hell. But that being said, I really do believe the problem is this rigid idea that if a girl says they're a boy, they must be a boy. No, maybe she's just a girl who wants to look like a boy, and why don't we encourage that?
Because biology is important to you. I know you are a huge advocate for biology. You believe in it, you own it.
So, I own it.
Yes, more power to you. That doesn't make me look at people like yourself any differently either. We're all just humans doing our thing and doing what works to get through this life. So I see people like I look at people like we're just having we're souls having a human experience. You know what I mean? And we're all just trying to get through this life. And yeah, somehow along the line we've just gotten stuck. I don't know.
No, what we're doing in our community is saying that you can't live your life as a certain type of person. You can only live your life if you change your gender. That's what they're saying. And that's not true. That is actually
that's the answer,
the
ultimate.
That's right. That's why it's so sick. It's sick because they literally want to twist these kids into a box again, and it won't work. It won't work. I will almost guarantee you more than 80% of these kids that were done that will probably desist or detransition or something, because you're shoving a kid into a space again. You cannot shove a kid into a space. Every time I see these adults with their kids on TikTok, this is my trans 6-year-old, and the 6-year-old's all, and they're like, tell him you're trans. And then the parents are like forcing the kids to say, I'm trans. And the kid is like, well, today I don't want to. And the mom's all, oh no, but you're I'm like, are people seeing this? And who puts their 6-year-old on social media? Weirdos do that. Yeah.
Oh, it's attention seeking for sure. And the parents part, the ones that push.
Why is that though? Why are the parents feeling such a need for attention and validation? And where is this insecurity coming from in general society? It's like we haven't spent the time like really getting to know ourselves and loving ourselves.
That's right.
We've moved away from that. We've just basically romanticized money and technology and like all the stuff, and we haven't gone within as much.
That's right.
Meditation and introspection. That's what we need.
That's why we need camps. We need like some camps. We need some places where girls can go explore their self in an environment where it's all girls, butch, whatever, blah, 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 having an awesome time being a girl, right?
But then there's that problem where girls or tomboy girls want to be boys and join the boys.
That's right. That's my point.
I am a boy, you know, like.
That's right. They think
boys are more fun. Come on.
Well, they think
sorry,
they think it's better. They think it's better to be a boy, that boys get to do better things, but that's what they think. But if we gave them the exact same thing boys have, that doesn't make them a boy. It makes them be able to have the exact same thing boys have. And then maybe they don't want to be a boy because they actually can have the same thing that a boy has. So as far as I know, when I was a kid, I saw what the boys had, right? And that's totally what I wanted. My two sisters, I have an older and a younger, they were all about the girl shit. I was all about the boy stuff. And so
I get it.
Does that make me trans? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It doesn't. It just makes me a little bit different. And I gravitated towards that. Now, as I grew up, clearly I am, but there could have been a space where I made a turn, but I did try.
You didn't do anything irreversible at a young age, though.
That's right. That's right. I was just me.
Well, what was the point in your life that you realized this isn't just me wanting to hang out with boys? This is something deeper. When did you get to that point in your life?
You know, again, remember growing up in the 60s, 70s, even in the 80s, it was difficult because even when I went to therapy, which I did, they would always just say you're a very masculine woman. But looking back, I was a masculine woman. They didn't have the tools to even understand a transsexual man. There was transsexual women, men becoming women, but there was no women becoming men. So I don't even think my therapist had any type of understanding about it other than the fact that they saw maybe a gay person because my masculinization made them think I was a lesbian, right? So again, you know, you have to understand there's a lot of levels here that we've grown for the last 30 years. And so I struggled, and then I just accepted my masculine female space and I really got into it. And I became a very butch female and I loved it. I won't lie about it. I loved it. And I loved being in that space and it was amazing. But there was this underlying feeling inside of me that I just didn't fit in. There was something there. And, you know, when I would tell my girlfriends, they would be like, no, you're not a dude. You're just, you know, and they would get really upset about it. So I wouldn't really bring it up much anymore. And I stayed with this secret on some level without ever being able to voice it. And that also catches up with you. And I really got into drugs and alcohol hardcore. And I really became a gnarly drug addict and crackhead. And I ended up going to Europe and modeling. I was one of the very first androgynous female models back in the 80s.
I saw your photos. Yeah, you're very attractive.
Wow. It was weird. It was weird, but I did it because drugs and all that shit. And anyway, I came back to LA in my, you know, mid 20s and I just was lost and homeless and blah, blah, blah. And what happened was sobriety. And once I sort of opened my eyes clear and out of drinking and drugs, I just said, I am a man once to a therapist I went to. And she said, I believe you. And that was all I needed. I needed somebody to say, I hear you. And
you were in a clear headspace with that sobriety as well.
That's right. That's right.
You were level-headed enough at the time. Right.
And then it just was a process after that because it hadn't been done before in my situation. But that being said, that's what the kids are missing. The kids are missing, you're okay, kiddo. It's all good.
And the appropriate sort of process as well.
That's
with it
right.
all. The rush. We keep going back to the rush. Why rush?
That's not, they never rushed me. They did not rush me. This therapist did not rush me. It took 2 years before I got to even see a hormone.
So you don't have any moments in life where you wish that you transitioned sooner or did speed it up a bit? You're quite content with how it all panned out for you in your timeline?
Now I say that, right? But if you probably would have asked me that at 25 or 30, I might have a different opinion about that. But I think because now my life, through all the struggles and through what I have accomplished, I'm a high school dropout, right? And I'm not proud of that, but I say it because it doesn't mean that I'm not smart enough to create. And so I really learned how to create my own world. And I wouldn't ask for anything else at this point. I think everything I've done and where I'm at has made me this person. So I do believe life experience is important in order to sort of find out and become a strong person. So if we start taking out all of these sort of obstacles out of the way of kids, what are we giving a kid? We're not giving a kid truth and honesty. We're giving a kid this idea that life is simple and easy and anything you want, you get. That's a complete total lie. So do you
That's,
see what I'm saying?
it's training for sensitivity and vulnerability. That's what
right.
you create. Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly
And
right. And that's
instantly,
real.
I want this instantly.
That's
The
right.
instant
Instant gratification.
expectations.
Well, we fucked up with the phones, and now the kids are all over this nonsense all day long instead of outside playing or doing what we did probably as youngsters. And I think no actual physical contact with other kids can be very dangerous.
How are they going to look back at this in 30, 40 years, looking at our generation now, looking at the kids and the technology, going, oh my God, I can't believe that the barbarians used to let their kids play on the technology so much. It's so dangerous. Didn't they realize?
Oh, they know. Oh, they know.
It's
they
basically
know, exactly.
a weapon, isn't it?
Yes, they know exactly what they're doing. Don't, I think we kind of align on this idea that there are conspiracies and there are things going on out there that are bigger than what your brain can't imagine it. My brain can't imagine giving kids puberty blockers and everyone being okay with it. It just doesn't register in my brain. So it's just shocking to me that it's just become this thing like it's okay. It's healthy. Nothing's going to hurt these kids.
She'll be right.
Why don't we just shoot heroin? Right. Just give kids heroin. Just try it. You're going to try it anyway. You might as well try it when you're eight.
You'll love it.
Oh.
It's good for cholesterol. Yeah.
Respect their choices.
Totally. Hey, mommy, I want to try some heroin. Okay.
I identify as a heroin addict.
Are you triggered, my friend? Oh my God.
Oh gosh, we're a society of snowflakes. That's what it's come to. Like, we're just careful. And,
not all of us.
Well, not all of us, no. But talking to people like you, Buck, is just so refreshing because it's like there is hope. Like
there is hope. There is.
We're all just humans talking.
Yep.
We got to talk
there
about
is hope.
all this.
That's why people try to block my voice in the community, and they tried to cancel me, but it didn't work because cancel also is a thing here. If I'm not going to let you cancel me, you're not going to cancel me. That's just how it is. I don't care what you think you're going to do. I don't care if you tell the whole community not to watch me. I have a whole other community that's called the world that actually enjoys my voice and understands what I'm doing. So that being said, it's why I just sit here very, very, very powerful in my space, because I speak my truth, and I speak the truth about why I became this person and why I am this person. And guess what? Truth wins. I don't care what anybody says. It might take 5 years for this truth to come, but it's going to come. And everyone who lied and everyone who cheated and all the doctors who did bullshit stuff for money are all going to jail, because I have a list. I have a list, and I'm not playing around. I'm not playing around. I got an actual list of these doctors who did surgeries on 15-year-olds, took their nipples off, told them it was okay. Like, that's malpractice.
It's not okay. No.
Nope. I won't play that game. I will not. Again, you do that stuff with adults. That's their problem. It's not mine. But when you start messing with 15-year-old kids and putting them into a space where they're going to hate themselves for the rest of their lives, no, I'm not going to play that game. I refuse.
It's a gamble. It's gambling with their lives.
This saved my life. This is an actual... Yeah, it saved my life. I don't play around here. If I didn't have this, those people are going to take it away from me. The people who are in my community who are putting this bullshit out there, they're going to ruin it for me. And
they're jeopardizing everything that you stand for, and tarring you with that same brush, which is so not what you stand for. Like, I can see that just from talking to you. I have a really tricky question, actually. How many genders are there? And what is a woman?
Oh my God, that's my best. That's my favorite question. What is a woman? An adult human female. And actually, go take a biology class. You don't say. I'm actually a female. Just so you know, I don't look like one, but I'm biologically female. That's why I fuck with those people, because they can't stand that I say I'm a biological female. No, you're not. You're a man. I go, first off, I go, wait, don't tell me who I am. How dare you? I'm an actual biological female. I embrace that part of myself. I don't feel in any way. That's the reality. That's right. I don't feel threatened by it. I actually embrace it. And I think it makes me a really badass dude, because I lived as a woman for so long. I really can understand women at a level that biological men will never be able to. And that's okay. And I think it's a gift. I feel like I have a gift from the universe.
Yeah, I think we all have something to offer if we really do actually embrace our true authentic self, not in the way that it's sort of being like, I just don't get it. But
I do. I'll tell you why they want to take biology off the table. You know why they want to do that. So then you can say trans women are women, because then you don't have any basis. You don't have any basis for what a woman is. But let me ask you this question, you guys. So why are they always so targeting women? Why is it people with uteruses, people with periods, people get pregnant, but they never ever target men? They never say people who sperminate, or people with testicles, or people with, right? they never say that, nor do they want to redefine the word male or man. Do you?
Why is that?
Understand?
Yeah,
I'm asking you. I'm asking you if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, I personally don't. I actually don't know. I'm trying to learn from you. Why is that? Because I have noticed they are trying to demasculate men as well.
That's right.
But it almost feels like they're trying to erase what it means to be a female, a woman. Right. And right. The whole cisgender term, I don't hate it, but I don't like it either. But, it is what it is, whatever. It's a term, and it's what people refer to biological females or men who identify as such. So that's fine. Not offended,
it's
but
stupid.
It's stupid. Yeah.
That's a really good question, Buck. You got me stumped. You got me stumped on that. That's a very good question. You need to reflect on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Because it's what I say all the time. Like, hey, wait a minute here. What is this targeting of women? And who is targeting? And why is the majority of the voice from trans women? Why is the majority of the fight about trans women or women? Why is the majority of the fight about trans women in sports? Why is the majority? You don't ever talk about trans men in sports. You don't ever talk about trans men.
You barely ever hear about trans men. Like it's not really in the mainstream at all. Yeah.
No, not at all. I'm like probably one of the most voice, besides Elliot Page, who used to be Ellen Page, right? Well, you're not supposed to say that because it's a dead name. I go, what? She was Ellen Page last week, and now he's Elliot. Who cares? But you can't transition in the public eye and expect everyone not to ever mention Ellen Page again. That's ridiculous, and that is actually transphobic in itself.
Yeah, and that's detrimental as well to what I think that it means. Am I on the right track there? Right. I don't want to pretend like I speak for anybody because I'm so fascinated and genuinely interested and open-minded into understanding all of this. So it does make it hard with the propaganda.
They're confusing you on purpose. You know that. They confuse you all on purpose.
I'm a guinea pig too then.
That's right. That's why they use cisgender. That's why they say stuff like you're transphobic or you're a TERF. That's what they do it all.
What is a TERF?
A TERF is a trans exclusionary radical feminist, which is complete insanity. They call me a TERF. So it's anyone who won't. Because it's anyone who doesn't comply with the language. So it's anyone who says, when I say trans women are not women, trans women are trans women. I say it all the time. I go, no, they're not. They're trans women. Like, what are you trying to manipulate? Oh, that's trans. I go, no, it is not. That is an actual factual statement.
Wait, so I'm a TERF if I say you're a woman. Yes. You're a trans woman.
Well, you're a TERF now. Yeah.
We're all TERFs.
Welcome to the club.
because I support J.K. Rowling. I support her 100%. She is a woman who's entitled to her voice, and she never said anything transphobic. I show it to people all the time. Read this and tell me where you see transphobia. People are like, I don't. I'm like, because she's not. That's not what she said. She said biological women are different than trans women. I respect trans people.
But that's not offensive.
It's just a fact.
Yeah. It's a fact. And also, she's a woman who's entitled to have her own opinion. Now you're telling me women can't speak up? We're not going back to 1950. Not on my time. No way. Women have fought forever to even have a voice in anything, and you're going to shut them down. You trans women are biological men. Don't you dare come into How dare they come into a woman's space?
What's wrong with being a feminine, beautiful man and a masculine, strong woman? What's wrong with that?
Exactly. Nothing. It was cool like that.
That's empowering when you really think about it.
That's right.
Like, this is the feminine expression of a man. This is the masculine expression of a woman. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And so why now are we saying that it's not okay to be a masculine girl? Why has the rate of transitioning literally gone 4,000? Look at that, 4,000% young girls. as opposed to like 1,000% young men. Like, what is happening here? Why are these young girls? Because we all know it's better to be a man than a woman, right? So that's this idea that little girls look at dudes and think they get better stuff, and they don't have to go through their period, and they don't have to have puberty with boobs, and they don't have to be sexualized.
The emotions that girls go through as well is like, we are wired differently to men and women are wired differently, but the vulnerable emotions, particularly of girls, is easily manipulated.
That's right.
So it's very easy to coerce a young.
Easy. That's why it's girls. That's why it's 4,000% girls. And if people would just calm down for a minute and we actually look at the actual statistical facts, but my community keeps screwing up the data. They do these research with no control group. That's not research. You can't have data with no control group. You can't just say, well, we took a poll and there was 25,000 trans girls who said blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, where's the control group in that? Why are you only asking trans people? Why aren't you asking people outside of that with how they, you know what I mean? You understand? So you can't have that. That's not an actual research. That's a biased research. And that's the stuff that comes out of my community. That it
makes it hard though, if you're going to get attacked for speaking out though, as you would know, because I mean, what happened with Macy Gray? She said something and then backpedaled.
She had to, because she is a public figure and she would lose her she would lose her record
J.K.
deal.
Rowling, she's still standing strong.
Never apologize.
Never apologize. That's right, my friend. Never. And JK stands on her own because she's a billionaire. That's what's so badass. Because she's like, whatever, you trolls. I don't care. I fucking lived in a car. That woman was homeless, lived in a car. And like, how are we not praising that? Is so disgusting. That says to me like women's rights are being literally railed back.
Trampled.
They are.
Gross. It's gross.
I think it's temporary. I think that women won't stand for it too much longer.
No,
and
that's right. That's right.
We're popular with very strong women now. They're very strong women.
Toughening us up.
That's right. That's a great point, my friend. So, you know, and so really my fight is children, as you know, but also I stand with women. I do. And, you know, as a person who lived half my life as a woman and as a butch woman and as a gay woman, I know what happens. You know, I was raped, I was kicked, my butt was kicked in by people, you know, hating me on the streets. And I got so much stuff for being a woman that I will never, ever forget that, nor will I turn my back on women's rights ever. I fought for women's rights as a woman. So I just can't imagine why trans women, certain, not all, but a contingent of these people think that it is okay to just do the things they're doing to women and forcing themselves into a space where they're not welcome. Sorry, you're not welcome. Guess what? That's how the real world works. I don't care if you don't like it or not. When I transitioned, I wasn't welcome into a lot of spaces. I just dealt with it and found my space. Like, you know, we're creating this idea that you can just take over anyone's space because you say you are. Like, that just makes no sense in any way.
It's entitled as well.
It's entitled. And also, if you want to be accepted in women's spaces, ask them. Be nice to them. Be respectful of the space. And I most guarantee you will be accepted into that space.
Yeah, because all the concerns that are out there are genuine, valid concerns and should be appreciated and talked about. So I really do. I see you as a bridge. So buck the bridge, you know, like you're building bridges for several different understandings. You know what I mean? And it needs to happen more and more, these sorts of conversations. And that's how we do coexist as well as humans.
As humans. I don't just live in a trans space, by the way. I live in a space of being male and walking the world.
Because that's what you wanted.
That's right. And I don't have one group of friends. I don't just hang out with one type of person. I have all kinds of friends and things. And it's the spice of life is variety. Yet here we are, you know, telling everybody that we are this one way and you have to accept it, or else you're a bigot or you're a...
But you're not offended, are you, when it comes to... There is a group of people who are just simply will not accept it no matter what, and to do everything
I don't care.
At all costs to avoid. You're not hell-bent on proving a point to any of them. You just get on with it, as I can tell.
That's right. That's right. It's because I know I'm wasting my time. My time is valuable. If you want to change your mind, right on, me and you will have a great space. But if you're just going to continue to call me names and tell me I'm a woman forever, and you know, that's okay, my friend. That's your space. It's not mine. And you know, that's how I navigate the world and why I am successful in my life, because I navigate the world the way I want to navigate the world, not how you tell me to navigate the world.
And when it comes to pronouns, like I mean, just from my angle, it's for simplicity's sake, I mean, and also out of respect, like, yeah, sure, I'd just refer to you as he and him, and because you appear that way. And that's all there is to it. It doesn't have to be read into, you know what I mean, or cited in any way possible. I just don't know how, like, where do you draw the line?
Well, where I draw the line is I don't care what your pronouns are. And if you want to make your pronouns whatever, that's your space. You go right ahead, put it on all your social media, do all that. I'm not doing that. Yeah, I don't care, because I don't care. And also, I had a sex change to look like a dude. And if I don't look like a dude to you, I didn't do my fucking sex change good enough. And then I'm just like, that sucks.
Exactly.
I want everybody as a dude. So it's actually on some level disrespectful to me to ask me my pronouns, because it makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, you see me still as a woman, you don't see me as a man. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And I mean, don't you just want to get on with it? Like, as I think Ben Shapiro has mentioned with Black and White, I'm getting into it. And he's mentioned that just for simplicity's sake, like, you want to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible. You're not going to dwell on the backstory of somebody. Get on with it, and the point of what we're trying to discuss, you know, the conversation. That's right. Not revolving around pronouns and whether or not you said it right or not. I mean, it might slip sometimes with some people. How do you feel about that?
I don't care. People call me she on purpose. No, people say she. You're just a woman. You're a she. Fine. Actually, it doesn't do anything for me. It's weird. It just doesn't. I'm so solid in my space. It's like if someone were to call you he or something, it's like, whatever. That's like ridiculous. Look at me. Like, it doesn't matter, because I know the intention. People forget that word. It's very powerful. Intention.
Yes.
Intention. What is my intention here? My intention here is to educate, not to come away with this angry at all of you or whatever. If some person is still going to hate me from this, that's okay. My intention is to help people understand and have compassion for my choices. And then me and you can now come together and talk about everything else in the world. Once we get that off the table, then we're like, let's talk about politics. What do you do for fun? What kind of food do you like? Like, you know, that's
cheers to that.
Yeah, we're missing this idea of humanity, and humanity has nothing to do with our identity. Our identity is who we are and how we walk the world. That's great. It shouldn't be the number one thing we're constantly talking about. And so I really think these kids are being really sucked into a space that make their identity their one and only thing that they know. And they are so attached to their identity. And that's why they're so fragile.
It becomes an addiction, does it? Do you think? Yes. Like, where it's just me, and it just becomes more and more like a manifestation of self-importance and chasing dreams. So rather than looking at the bigger picture. I mean, I don't want to pretend that I can understand, but I do try to put myself in that position. Yeah.
No, you do understand. I can see that. I hear you, both of you. You guys actually understand what's going on here, and you care, because what's going on here is some kind of false. They're building like a false foundation for these kids, and when you have a weak foundation, it literally crashes. And I have a very strong foundation because I really worked on my foundation, and then once my foundation was done, I got to work on my outside. My foundation is my brain. So I did a lot of mental health care before I even did any of the outside. I always use the example of, if you buy a used or a car, you're going to look at the engine, my friend. Make sure that engine is really slick.
You can always do it up later.
Yeah, because if you start putting tires and paint it and all that, it's going to crash. And basically, you kids are doing surgery, which is painting your car, and doing that before you're even taking care of your mental health, which is your engine. And once I put it like that, so many kids get it. I'm like,
Fuck, did you just refer to people as a car? Like, how dare you? How offensive. What are you thinking?
What are the pronouns?
I mean, you got to sort of laugh about it and bring light to it.
I know.
Like, humor is how we get on with life, I think. And
Agreed.
Yeah, agree with each other. And even if there is a disagreement, I think there's always a way to move past that for the greater good. So I absolutely love you and what you're doing for humanity, and I really appreciate the time that you've made for talking with us. So Ryan, did you have any following words?
Well, I think that for people listening, I think that everyone should go out there and at least once a week have a conversation with someone you disagree with. I think that's the fastest way that we can change society, because you're not always right. Even if you really feel like you're right, challenge yourself. We need to challenge.
You might learn something.
Yeah.
But people are scared now to do anything like that. I
Or
think
to
we're not,
change
but
their
that's
mind.
beautiful. What you said is beautiful, my friend. And I think that if we start to
Yeah.
push that more, get off the phone, read a book, go, outside, get in nature. Like, I think we're really, this is actually,
And
it's
calm down. Everyone needs to calm down.
Calm your tits.
Smoke a joint, you'll be much better. Thank you, guys.
That's
I
for
appreciate
another
it.
subject. Controversy everywhere.
Right on.
Buck, thank
right
you
on.
so much. You're an absolute legend, and
Thank
we
you,
love you,
guys.
and we'd love to stay in
Thank
touch.
you.
So
Yes, yeah,
keep
for
doing
sure.
what
Let's
you're
do that.
doing. We need
Yep.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate you so much.
You're
Have
awesome.
a great day.
I appreciate you too.
Right on.
Thank you, Buck. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.